Welcome to Evolve to Succeed, the podcast that brings together entrepreneurs, founders, business leaders and experts to talk about their journeys and explore the link between personal and business success. I'm your host, Warren Munson, founder of Evolve, a coaching, training and development company focused on enabling business and personal success and creating a community of like-minded individuals. Whether that be through our peer groups, one-to-one coaching, our training and development programs for you and your teams, or through our content and events, our mission is to get the best out of each individual and inspire them to be better both in life and in business. If you want to learn more about Evolve, including our beautiful co-working space in Ashley Cross in Poole, then please go to evolvemembers.com, where you'll find great content, insights, details of all of our services, and also information on our forthcoming events. For now though, let's get on with the show. This week I'm talking to Olly Leicester, a certified corporate health and performance coach who helps clients manage and resolve a number of disorders ranging from stress, anxiety and depression to diabetes, hypertension and obesity. The foundation of Olly's work revolves around the establishment of healthy habits as well as the development of self-awareness, confidence and compassion in order for the individual to better understand themselves and therefore establish paths to physical and mental wellness. And although Olly works part-time for the NHS, his aim with the corporate health work that he undertakes personally is to help people in the workplace before they need the services of a GP or a coach in the NHS. Workplace wellbeing is something that I'm truly passionate about. It is a real priority for me. I believe that one of your responsibilities as a business owner and leader is to look after the wellbeing of your team. Whether that's doing the simple things like providing fresh fruit in the kitchen, or arranging wellness days, or simply being available there to talk to and having mental health first aiders within the team. There's so many things, big and small, that you can do to create an environment where people feel valued and cared for. I also believe the leader should set an example by adopting healthy habits in their own life. Sometimes easier said than done. Today's conversation naturally centres around these important topics, but you'll also hear about the interesting journey that Olly has been on over the past few years. It's one that saw him quit his job in 2016 and travel to Nepal and India, where he trekked the Himalayas and spent time with Buddhist monks. He then also went to Poland to attend a cold exposure breathing and mindset retreat with Wim Hof. And it's these experiences that have had a profound effect on Olly's approach to wellness, and I think they'll give you, the listener, a fresh perspective on the subject as well. Please do enjoy the episode. Welcome, Olly, to the Evolve to Succeed podcast.
Thanks for having me, Warren. Good to be here.
It's really interesting to have you on the podcast today. You're going to learn a lot more, hopefully, about well-being, how we can look after ourselves better as business leaders. But I'm intrigued because, researching, preparing for this podcast, it sounds like you've had a really interesting experience that started late in 2016 when you quit your office job, which you'd had for over 12 years, and travelled to Nepal. So maybe I should just start with, tell us a little bit about why that happened and what your experiences were on that trip.
Yeah, no, good question. So why, I enjoyed my time in the travel industry and it sounded pretty glamorous, and I did have some good times, but it didn't really, at the end of 12 years, I wasn't fulfilled on a day-to-day basis. So it didn't make me feel happy. So a bit depressed and sort of a bit aimless, I would say, in terms of what made me light up. So I decided to quit there. And I'm still be a fan of travel, whether it's short distances or long distances. But I decided to go to Nepal and India for the majority of 2017.
Okay. And
just to give myself time and space and a bit of a life reset, really.
And why Nepal and India?
I've had quite a lot of time in Nepal. In 2005, I did some volunteering there.
Okay.
Loved it. And I had been back there in 2-week trips to go trekking again. So it's a place I knew relatively well, but I hadn't explored everything of Nepal.
Yeah.
So I had a rough plan, but I kind of set my itinerary, a bit footloose really. So I got involved in things like meditation retreats, and I spent time in monasteries with other Western tourists, like learning from monks who were giving lectures each day for kind of 10 days straight about just different perspectives and on life, which totally opened my eyes and mind. And just the elements of like self-compassion and self-awareness had not really been in my realm for potentially ever.
Right. But did you go there on the trip hoping to find a bit more out about yourself and reset?
Yeah, I think so, but with no particular strategy at that point. But
so there was no agenda. There was no, I'm going to come back and I'm going to be a health coach or anything like that. It was just, I'm going to go on this trip and discover myself a little bit.
Yeah, and the only thing I actually lined up before I went there was somebody through my travel contacts. They kind of arranged a 3-week volunteering place, staying with a family in a remote rural village and teaching English in their local school for 3 weeks. So that was within the first month of my setting off. So that was like going from busy UK life into mountain life, living with a family, which was amazing.
Yeah.
And just, learning about how to kind of teach English, which, that's a kind of a...
in at the deep end.
Yeah, exactly right. So it's kind of getting creative about what you could get across for these little Nepalese kids, which was challenging, certainly.
And did the experience grow over the time? You were there for nearly a year. You were there for 11 months. Did you go on this journey and get deeper and deeper into sort of the meditation, the well-being, I'm just kind of intrigued to think, how did you go along this journey?
Yeah, because one of the beauties that I only realised when I came back was I wasn't exposed to Western content or Western media. I didn't watch TV, and so all I was consuming was reading books, or listening to podcasts about health in general and life in general, and just mental health, physical health, learning about what foods and how to sleep and all this kind of stuff that I'd never really had much awareness in.
Right.
And it was just sort of really eye-opening, and because I had months and months of this, I just got really addicted to learning about new things. And I think that I was a bit stagnated in my previous kind of role. I was there for too long and probably didn't have enough growth in that time. So having all these different uplifting and constructive inputs was really quite addictive, and I still do. I still try and steer away from kind of the Western media because I don't think it adds anything to my life in a positive way.
No.
So the content I consume now is really conscious. So again, reading books, watching YouTube, which is you can choose your
you're in control and create. Kind of, I like that word. Create it
rather than see what's on TV and just sort of zone out with no particular kind of aim.
And if you use 3 words to describe the Olly that came back from Nepal and India compared to the Olly that went, what 3 words would you use?
More self-aware completely, and open-minded, and just with a fresh perspective, I think. Yeah. A more positive kind of perspective on life.
And did people that you knew when you returned saw that you're a different individual?
Oh, I think so. Yeah. Just different kind of energy, I suppose. Yeah.
Interesting. And at what point did you then think, right, I've enjoyed that. I've had that time out. I've reset. I'm going to turn this into something I'm going to do for a career, I suppose.
A business. I think, during all the listening and learning I was doing, I was trying to work out when I came back, how I would make a living in a more fulfilling manner, and just the element of helping people kind of resonated with me. So I kind of listened to podcasts around coaching and health coaching in particular. And when it really struck me when I came back after that period away from Western worlds, how instantly kind of obvious it was that people are stressed and looking out of shape, looking not well. From Heathrow Airport onwards.
From the moment the plane touched the ground, kind of thing.
And so that kind of struck a chord. It was like being, I made the point when I got back, it was like being seeing the Emperor's new clothes. So by default, I'd be living out there, sleeping well, had a lot more tools for managing my own stress. wasn't sedentary. I was doing active things, and the food I was eating, although I wasn't cooking myself, but it was all freshly kind of prepared stuff. And cooking, whether it was in India or Nepal, was always, you could always hear like pressure cookers cooking their rice, and just there was a lot more time and priority over the whole meal preparation,
nutrition and meal times.
And seeing people pick veg from their gardens, and they had chickens there, so the eggs were on tap. So and coming back into sort of a culture where we have a rushed kind of a priority, or maybe not as we don't slow down enough to eat and prepare food, and we meal deals on the go, which is what I ate when in my office in Balham. Like eating out of Boots or Greg's meal deals was my preferred choice.
Stable choice of lunch.
And back then also I had gum disease as well, which I've listened to lots of dentists on podcasts illustrating or making the point that your mouth is maybe like the canary in the coal mine for inflammation in the body, and that kind of really hits home now looking back. So all the junk I was eating completely unaware was making my mouth inflamed, and just what's the impact on you, the rest of the body, if your hardest substance in your body is being eroded by the junk that you're eating. So that's kind of a reflective point.
Wow, it does make it hit home, isn't it? And then after you came back, the travel bug, as I understand it, didn't quite leave. You went over to Poland.
That was having listened to loads of podcasts. Wim Hof was like one of the ones I kind of had a deep dive in, and noticed on his website that he was doing a December retreat in Poland. So that kind of coincided with my return flight home.
Okay.
So I think I had 5 days left, or 5 days back, and then I hopped over to Poland and did a Wim Hof course, learning about how to breathing techniques and mindset and all the cold exposure, which was like very eye opening as well, and mind opening.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because obviously, I'm sure a number of the listeners have, but have read his book. I've try and fulfill that kind of cold shower philosophy, and when I'm in a good place, which is probably the time when I don't need to do it, but I'm in a bad place, I do breathing exercises. But is that now that Wim Hof philosophy piece a big part of what you do now? Is it ingrained into your psyche?
Yeah, I think elements of it are. I always do a 2-minute cold shower in the morning. Monday to Friday. Sometimes I give myself a warm thing on the weekends as a treat.
A little bit of rest.
But like for a few years, ever since then, I've kind of had that as a kind of a metaphor in the mornings, where you kind of choose to do a hard thing, and then you get a reward of like a big buzz. And when I'm feeling tired in the evening, say I'm coming home from work and I'm going out for whatever reason, I always do a cold shower to give me a bit of boost then as well. Right. And it's kind of it's a state changer for the good, because if you're feeling a bit low or groggy or anxious or whatever, getting in a cold shower quickly is you kind of get out of that
it's an amazing
headspace.
Feeling, isn't it? It's a reset.
One of the other podcasts I listen to is The Daily Stoic with Ryan Holiday, and I'm a big fan of Stoicism, and he just says doing hard things, you get the benefit from doing those things afterwards, and it's kind of just a daily kind of ritual now.
But it is a mindset thing, isn't it? And I suppose I'm a little bit intrigued to how, when you work with business owners, business leaders, individuals, that sometimes adopting that mindset of you need to do the hard things is a different mentality and a different mindset to shift people into. So how do you go about doing that?
I think it's kind of each person's got their own headspace, and it's kind of asking questions around what they're currently struggling with and how would they like to overcome those struggles. The little rituals of doing little challenging things to your body is often helpful for overcoming challenging things at work or with your head. It's a daily kind of you get something out of it. It's a short-term achievement, I think.
Just that euphoria.
You're kind of volunteering. So you're choosing to do this hard thing, even though it's easier not to. But it's like it's easier to dial a pizza on your phone, or
Yeah.
press Deliveroo on your phone. That's easy, but is that going to get you a long-term result?
Yeah.
So you can frame it that way, and it's just giving that right analogy or right framework that resonates with that person, I think.
Definitely. So you've been to India, you've been to Nepal, you've done the Wim Hof trip in Poland. Was there for the moment that you thought, right, I'm going to train as a health nutritionist coach?
I think due to the content I was consuming, that was always...
that was going to be the outcome?
Yeah, maybe. It just resonated with me, and listening to loads of doctors who are quite prolific on podcasts, they have realised is the medication is good for short-term hits. Sure, there's definitely a place for that, but if you want to solve your long-term mental and physical ailments, that often comes from the things you do every day.
Yeah.
And just getting that awareness across is going to be more empowering to these individuals, whether it's one person or a group. If we can all be more empowered and more in control of our health journeys, then that kind of really hit home.
Do you think that message gets lost a little bit? Like in the same way, like you say, avoid the media. Do you think Big Pharma has a bit of responsibility here that we're sort of nearly brainwashed? Don't worry, when you get ill, we can fix you, rather than taking self-responsibility up front?
Yeah, I think there is an element of that. In the NHS, we obviously get healthcare for free.
Yeah.
And I think the UK culture maybe relies on that free element, and seeing, as I work in the NHS part-time still, I certainly see some people who kind of maybe take advantage of that.
Yeah.
But they kind of are attached to the system, if you like. If they're not creating their own healthy behaviours each day, they're still reliant upon the medication, which isn't going to solve their health issue. No. It's just dealing with a symptom, which is fine for some people if they don't want to change, carry on with that. But if you want to get the most out of life, I think if you can create your own health, you're in a better position for then to be a better version of you, which will have a ripple effect in work and family life and generally in society.
Yeah. And some of this then must do to creating good habits, doesn't it? You've talked about some of your habits, the cold showers and all of those kind of things. So any hints and tips for our listeners around how do you create positive habits? Yeah,
good question. Yeah, one quote that resonated with me, there's a chap called Frank Lippmann who was educated in Western and Eastern philosophy. He just said, good health is a result of the small things that we do on a daily basis. So it's just having these behaviours and habits that kind of you can prioritise and repeat as often as possible, that give you the result that you want to get. And it's not telling people what to do, because it's more asking people, because if I just say you need to get in a cold shower every day, that's not going to hit home. You'll probably stick your fingers up. But it's just asking a person what they're currently doing. Is that getting you the desired result? If it is, then great. But if it isn't, what could you factor in throughout your day, whether it's the morning or the lunch or whatever it may be? And it's just exploring ideas, really. And whether that's food choices or how you move or better sleep or how you choose to manage your stress. All these daily behaviours and So
you're obviously a big believer in your approach of just taking baby steps, incremental steps, time after time to get to the end result, rather than a kind of big bang kind of approach.
The analogy of the tortoise and the hare is been around for hundreds of years for a reason, because if you're the hare and sprint and then stop, you're not gonna win.
But many of us in our kind of whatever we do, is it our physical health, our mental health, our nutrition, we do go to extremes, don't we? That's again perhaps a Western culture that there's an on switch and there's an off switch.
Yeah, I agree with that. And you see, how about a 30-day challenge with food or whatever it may be, which can be, or New Year's resolutions. I mean, it's often too big too soon, where then you see people just sacking it off in the third week in January or whatever it is. So baby steps, and just asking them what steps they would like to take, and then it's kind of supporting them and keeping them accountable for these little goals that they do want to do. And then the more times, any habit you want to create, the more times you do it, the better you become at it, and whether it's a good habit or a bad habit. And it's as simple as that. I mean, you get good at what you practice.
Yeah.
So if you're practicing eating chips, you'll get your body and mind will get used to that habit.
Yeah.
But if you practice meal prep, for example, or whatever it may be, going for a walk in the morning, whatever, you get more in tune with that thing.
And where are you on the, tech? And he says with a whoop on his wrist. But where are you? Because there's a lot of kind of things that, like fitness tech and that kind of thing doesn't actually create necessarily the right behaviours. There's a recognition that actually, and in Nepal and India, they don't have tech, do they? And they do a lot of the right things. Where are you on the use of technology these days in living a healthier lifestyle? Yeah,
I think it can be good for that person who wants to count their steps.
Yeah.
Or reminding them that they've been sitting down for 45 minutes and get up and go for a walk. So if that helps that individual, then great. But if it doesn't,
better habits. Yeah.
If it doesn't, then it's kind of having more awareness around how much time you are kind of controlled by, or how much screen time you have, how much time you have away from screens. Like downtime away from technology, I think is really important factor, because with social media, there's so many ways you can get sucked into working on screen and being entertained or having social lives on screens. And as humans, we're social beings, and that will never be anything different.
No.
So it's just having those kind of boundaries, I suppose, and having adequate screen time and adequate non-screen time, I think.
Yeah, and just making your way through.
Yeah.
And some key thoughts, tips around, let's talk about some of the subjects we could talk about. So let's talk about nutrition first. Somebody wants to improve their nutrition. I know we're all different as human beings and individuals, but some quick, easy wins?
I think, I say to people, or people ask me, what should I eat? Or what do I eat? I simply put eating real food is the way to go, and the way humans have always kind of eaten up until about 30 years ago. And it's just having real whole ingredients as much as possible. Yeah. It's nobody's perfect, and it's dealing with this culture that we live in and the environment we live in, because it doesn't help in terms of food choices, and food marketing is a big industry now, and they're very good at what they do. And all these sort of manufactured processed foods are designed by scientists to be addictive. They even tell you, like, the Pringles, once you pop, you can't
stop.
Yeah, exactly. They're not designed for health. They're designed to make money for that corporation.
Yeah.
So I think that's got to be acknowledged, because food addiction, I speak to people who've got, whether it's Coca-Cola or crisps or chocolates or this kind of thing. This is a genuine addiction, I think, for a lot of people. But to have more awareness and more priority over and more conversations around like food and shopping habits, even.
Yeah.
When are we going to go shopping? When are we going to kind of sit down, and how much time are we going to eat for? And just having more awareness around, because going back to my Nepalese days, the evening meal took like hours to prepare. That's not practical over here for a lot of people.
Yeah.
But what can you do? What would you like to eat in a given amount of time, in a realistic time? Yeah, just it's upgrading maybe the food culture here from what it is now, which is often less important as it was like maybe 30 years ago, when we didn't have Deliveroo and we didn't have meal deals and all this.
Yeah, it wasn't processed, it wasn't convenient.
Yeah,
it was just
and shops shut at 5 o'clock, and they didn't open on Sunday, and we didn't have access to the internet, obviously, and so it was harder to get worse choices back then. So it's easier now more than ever.
I think it's probably easier to make the bad choice than it is now to make the good choice, isn't it?
Exactly right. And there's no shame or blame in that. It is what it is.
It's just life. That's the way the world has emerged,
so it's navigating this crazy world as best we can.
Yeah. And where do you sit on that kind of plant-based, vegan, red meat, no meat?
Yeah. Where
do you sit on all of that?
Well, I think I've listened to so many podcasts from all kinds of schools of thought, but it comes back to eating real food, and ancestrally appropriate food, I think. And
so, what do you mean by ancestrally appropriate food?
Yeah, looking back through human history, what do we evolve to eat?
Okay, yeah.
And it's quite a simple principle, and if it grew in a field, or if it, or it was an animal that ate the food that grew in a field, or we eat foods that made on a farm, which farming's been around for hundreds and thousands of years. If we can eat real food, like it doesn't have to be complicated,
real food.
And within your cultural beliefs and your environmental beliefs, pick what you like. I think I know for a fact that the three macronutrients of carbohydrate, fat and protein, only fat and protein are essential for human life,
right?
Which I think is very interesting, because the food pyramids that we see in Western cultures are all based on carbohydrate,
carb heavy.
Yeah, which I know I've done so many experiments on myself and listened to other people. The carbohydrates, whether it's starchy or sugary stuff, generally stimulate more hunger. So I now know myself, if I eat a lot of protein, whether it's eggs or fish or bacon or whatever it may be, that will keep me going for a lot longer than, say, a bowl of cereal and a slice of toast, which I'll be hungry in 2 hours or so.
Yeah.
So if I'm getting all my nutrients from nutrient dense food is a good way to get it as well. Which animal products are naturally more nutrient dense, but if you don't eat eggs or fish, then what are the most nutrient dense forms of vegetables or fruits that you can get? Yeah, I'm not going to say I never tell people what to eat, but it's just offering some awareness around what you're currently eating and what could you eat that will give you a better result.
Okay, brilliant. So it's like a quick fire. We've done nutrition. What about alcohol? Views on alcohol and, cutting down alcohol, or should it be no alcohol? I mean, what's your view on that?
I think, I still like a drink of red wine or beer.
Yeah.
I'm much more aware of how it makes me feel and what my food choices are based on the fact if I have been drinking. Yeah. I'm more likely to.
With that. Yeah.
Yeah, you're more likely then to overeat or make poorer choices. When I choose to drink now, I'm hopefully drinking on a full stomach, because then I won't be craving or more likely to eat the worst stuff. But I mean, drinking, I'm not going to, again, like you don't tell people you can't have a beer or a wine or whatever, but it's asking them like what would be your optimum alcohol consumption and what kinds of drinks would be best suited for you. I know now, where I was back in uni days, I would drink pints and pints, but having 2 pints is like probably enough for me now, because it just makes me feel pretty bad and it'll affect my sleep. I wake up to go to the toilet and it just disrupts my sleep, and therefore my energy in the morning isn't what it could be. Yeah.
So let's go on sleep then.
Yeah.
As the quick fire continues, we'll touch on sleep. So sleep is clearly important to us all, isn't it? But it's probably one of the other areas of life that we're not great at adhering to, are we? So same question really. Hints, tips, thoughts on how an individual that's listening to this podcast could think about ways to improve their sleep.
Yeah, good question. There's plenty of practical tips, but I think one of the easiest ones is getting morning sunlight for setting up your circadian rhythm, because that's just telling your body it's daylight, and hopefully that will stimulate melatonin, which is the sleepy hormone, in the evening. That's an easy one that I've kind of factored in, and my sleep is a lot better than it was based on that one. And also I have red lights in my bedroom and my living room now, because it kind of simulates sunset. So if you like your tech, you could have like different coloured lights at home.
Yeah.
And staying on the tech subject, I mean, it's these gadgets that we use are very addictive as well. They're all designed by the finest minds of Silicon Valley to make us sit there and consume all that stuff. But having a cut-off where we kind of say, right, what's our ideal bedtime, and then maybe work back half an hour, whatever's practical for you, to kind of remember when to maybe go from technology to, say, a book or something more relaxing.
Okay.
And you don't. Another easy tip is like not watching alarming content, say the news or a horror movie, right towards where you're wanting to go to bed.
Yeah.
But I mean, different tips resonate with different people.
Yeah, definitely.
And it depends on your lifestyle and when you work and what responsibilities you have with kids or whatever.
Yeah. Some sleep choices are difficult to make, aren't they, because of those things.
Sure.
Oh, sleep gets interrupted because of some of those things.
So in that case, it's kind of what other factors in life could you be more in control of, whether that's the food side or exercise or social connections. And so you're kind of doing what you can.
So up your self-care in another area, knowing that actually perhaps I've got young kids, I'm going to get woken up once or twice a night, but just up your self-care in terms of maybe nutrition to try and counterbalance that. Is that what you're saying?
I think it's an area to explore with each individual.
Yeah.
Because say if you're sleep deprived and you haven't got the right or the best foods that you could say,
you're not fueled in the right way.
That'll have a ripple effect in the negative way. But if you've got, say, leftovers in the fridge, or you've got a fully stacked freezer for stuff that you cooked in the past, then that's kind of an easy one to whip out. And so giving yourself a nutritional boost, if you are in that sleep deprivation sort of mode.
One of the things she just says definitely resonates with me, and that's, if I'm definitely a morning person anyway, but if I get up, and I try and do it 3 or 4 times a week, in the summer I'm getting up at 5:30 to do it, but it's easier this time of year now into sort of September when the sun's rising, sort of 6 o'clock-ish, is actually get up and do my exercise, go for a run, go out on my bike as the sun's coming up, and I know that I'm going to feel more energised during the course of that day if I do it. And it's just a subtle thing, isn't it? Yeah.
And one of the things I picked up in my year away was the concept of morning routines. Since 2017, I've kind of trying to curate a morning routine, whether I've got 15 minutes in the morning or an hour, or however long you've got. It's just starting your day on a positive note, because how you start your day can influence your day. And that's just a quote I've heard from a podcast. So that kind of hits home for me. And whether that's doing a bit of yoga or going for a walk or going for a run, or a bit of, say, meditation, which I quite like still to do, or just listening to a uplifting podcast, just something to make you start well, and that again means something to. And
I like that idea, and I hadn't really thought about it before, but that idea that, because there's a lot of this about the 5 a.m. club and all of that, and these morning routines, and again, it's quite difficult, and not always, that doesn't suit everybody, does it? But having a different kind of morning routine, depending on whether you've only got 15, 20 minutes because you've got to be somewhere for a meeting, an appointment, or actually this is more of a relaxed day. I've got a good hour. That's a nice way of thinking about it, isn't it? But starting your day still in a positive manner.
Yeah. I mean, this morning I had an early meeting. So there's this thing called Tabata, which is a Japanese scientist. I think it's named after a Japanese scientist. But the Tabata concept is doing something, an exercise for 20 seconds, having a 10-second break, and then doing that for 8 cycles. So it's 4 minutes in total. So I did this morning like 20 seconds of press-ups times 8. So, and after 4 minutes you're absolutely knackered. So it doesn't take long to have a strenuous workout in a short space of time. So it's a practical thing that I do when I've got an early meeting. Say, I always want to do some kind of exercise, whether that's at home or going for a walk, whatever.
Whatever it may be.
So I speak to a lot of people who say, I haven't got time, which is that's effectively nonsense, because we've all got the same amount of minutes in the day. But how you prioritise those minutes is up for discussion and up for exploration.
Definitely. I like that. It's definitely up for exploration. And so you're leading us really well now, so we'll go on to the final kind of topic, which is that kind of piece about physical exercise. And any thoughts on how people should approach that? If perhaps they have been a kind of couch potato, been very kind of sedate for a number of years, what sort of things should they start to think about doing?
I'd ask them, like, what do you enjoy doing, or what did you previously enjoy doing in your school days or past lives or whatever? Because again, like telling people to go to the gym, I don't go to the gym. It doesn't really float my boat. I prefer to do stuff either outdoors if I can, or with other people. And but starting small, don't overwhelm yourself. I think setting the bar low is and trying to get an easy win to get momentum and starting. And it's just starting the habit. So whether that's dancing or gardening, or it doesn't have to be termed exercise. I think exercise puts people off in some walks of life. So having less sedentary time is maybe a good way to frame it. And how could you do that?
How can you just be more active rather than more physical, and that to some like you say, that negative term of sort of exercise. Is it, perhaps it's from school days or whatever it may be.
I mean, some people may have like poor memories of being picked last at whatever club they were in or whatever. And do you like doing things on your own or with other people? And if you can have a social element to your exercise, that often lifts people up as well. Keeps people more accountable.
And talking to here, podcast, generally our listeners are business owners, business leaders, and stress is a big part of their lives. And it probably comes with a lot of us in all ways, shapes and forms, doesn't it? But maybe if you're running or leading a business, it can be quite a stressful existence. And I've heard you talk previously about this kind of frame of positive and negative stress. I'd quite like you to just explore that as part of the conversation.
Stress is going to hit everyone, and how you manage that stress is kind of up to you in terms of could you manage it in a positive way or a negative way. So negative ways are very easy to do in our environment again. So you could dial a pizza, or not even dial a pizza, it's just pressing the button on your phone, isn't it? Or having a few pints, or smoking, or whatever. Or gambling is another big one that's easy to do on your phone, and so that could be a numbing activity. Or you could say, right, how could I positively manage my stress? And that could be going for a run, or that could be having a cold shower, or again, like asking what could you do in a more positive or healthier way than that you're currently doing. There are positive stresses, short, sharp stresses are a way to make your body stronger. So cold shower is a good example, but also having a sauna, that's a stress. So maybe a 15-minute sauna, you again, like, it's a state changer. So if you go in there in a bit of a bad mood or whatever, you're gonna get out of your head and into your body, because that's a stress, isn't it? So as is like exercise, whatever, or walking in a forest, or swimming in the sea or whatever.
But it is so easy, isn't it? And to revert to some of those negative ways of dealing with stress. And I suppose the word you used was numbing, and just find a way of numbing the stress. The difficulty must come, and you must see this when you're doing your coaching, is how do you get somebody to change the mindset of dealing with stress in a negative manner and a numbing manner, and shift it towards, actually, I'm going to deal with this in a positive manner. Anyone I speak to, it's like solving a puzzle, I suppose, and everyone's a unique puzzle to solve, and it would be asking them, like, what you're currently doing, is that getting you your desired result long term? If it's a no, then what could you do that's going to get you a better result? And I speak to people about time that they spend outdoors in general, because it's very easy to spend. We live in an indoor lifestyle, particularly in the winter, and I think that's often an idea that they could embrace, going for a walk in whether it's morning or evening or lunch or whatever, just giving that little time and space outdoors. But it's just really establishing what their current lifestyle is and their commitments, and then it's kind of one piece of their puzzle at a time. I find it fascinating, because if they can come up with their own answers, that's a lot more empowering and more likely to then happen to be their preferred change, I think. Perfect. And how does the work you do with the NHS compare to the work you do with business leaders and corporates?
I think most of the people I see in the GP surgeries are on board with it, although some of them aren't as maybe on board with it because it's free. So,
I suppose it's some of them have been told this is what you must now need to do as the next step.
But it's good that the NHS are embracing like more a coaching approach, because that again gives people more tools to take home and achieve better health. But private clients and corporates, because they're buying into it, they clearly see a need for a better working culture, I suppose. And culture. I another soundbite I heard from a podcast. Culture is just a bunch of people copying each other. So it's whether you're all copying each other, living in say if we don't take lunch breaks and eating at your desk, that's just copying the next person.
Yeah.
That's considered the preferred or desired behaviour.
Accepted behaviour.
Yeah, exactly. So if we can upgrade these little tweaks here and there and lift the culture in a more positive light even, in a more healthier way, then you're uplifting everyone. And it's kind of, you have to kind of like be the change, particularly if you're a leader, because it's not working if you say, right, we're gonna all go for a walk at lunchtime, say, but the leader doesn't partake.
Sits at his desk and eats his food.
Exactly. So it does require change from the top down. I think that's a good example.
Yeah, it's a great example.
Yeah, each kind of business has their own unique stresses as well. So or accountants or tax people would have different deadlines throughout the year, which will be different stress levels throughout the year. But solicitors maybe, depending on what section of law you're in, or banking, they've all got different pain points, I suppose, and it's good exploring
to understand those and then that with them again.
And then it's kind of everyone's sort of unique as well. I've mentioned that a few times, but then it's kind of designing a bespoke kind of workshop, or it could be working one-to-one with those who would resonate with more one-to-one coaching.
And as we start to conclude our conversation, is there any specific kind of success stories, examples of individuals you've worked with or companies you've worked with that you look back on and are proud of the achievements?
I've noticed when a lot of people in our country now have weight issues or blood sugar issues, a lot of type 2 diabetes or pre-diabetes, and that's often a really impactful hit on their mental health as well as their physical. And when we explore different food options, because you can solve obesity and blood sugar issues quite simply, but maybe not easily based on the culture that we live in again. But when I've had people reverse their type 2 diabetes and lose a lot of weight, and particularly around the waist, that makes them feel mentally better, and they feel happier about themselves and gives them more confidence to then be a better version in and out of work and in and out of family life. So it's kind of it's very holistic. So when you get a progression in physical health, that often gives them a lift in mental health. And
definitely big connection between the two, isn't there?
Massive.
Definitely. And I always end the podcast with this question: in terms of your own personal definition of success, what does success look like for Olly?
I think just feeling good after a day's work. If you can feel fulfilled, as well as and it's just helping people help themselves with a good sort of income as well. I think that's a win-win. One person at a time, you can kind of help lift up society at the moment, because I think there's a lot of negative stuff going on, and we're not in a great physical and mental shape as a nation, I would say. Like zooming out, although we're a first world country, we're not in kind of first world health, I would say. And one person at a time, it can be changed, but it takes coaching can be a catalyst, I would say. So
brilliant, fantastic, Olly. And if people want to learn more about you, what you do, where can they go? How can they get in touch with you?
Either on the website, just ollyleicester.co.uk, or on LinkedIn. Come and say hello. So,
brilliant, Olly. I've really enjoyed our conversation. Thank you for sharing your expertise with me and our listeners. It's been great having you as a guest on the Evolve to Succeed podcast.
Thank you, Warren.
Thank you for listening to the Evolve to Succeed podcast. My hope with every episode is that you've learned something new or heard something that challenged your way of thinking and further motivated you on your path towards becoming a more knowledgeable, informed and inspired individual and business leader. If you enjoyed this episode, then please help us by rating, reviewing and subscribing. We really value your feedback and would love to have you along for future episodes. And please don't forget to learn more about Evolve by going to evolvemembers.com. Thank you for listening. See you next week.